number 3. So you're number 3.
My number 3 is Dial M for Murder. Grace Kelly and Ray Milan, Robert Cummings. Great movie, 1954. Has been remade a couple of times. I think the most recent was A Perfect Murder, which I think was early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, starring Michael Douglas and Gwyneth Paltrow. Basically about a guy that finds out his wife, Grace Kelly, is Robert Cummings, is cheating on. No, Robert Cummings is the good guy. Never mind. But one of them finds out that his wife is cheating, and basically hires someone to slip in and kill her. But she finds a gun in a purse when the guy's attacking her and kills him. Or was it a letter opener? It was a letter opener. And kills him. And then, of course, when her husband comes back home and sees the body, he says, okay, we're going to fix this. And then he tries to frame her for the murder to get rid of her. He wants her out of his life. So his first intent is to have her killed. When she defends herself and kills the assailant, he decides just to frame her for the murder. So he starts removing all the evidence that it was a forced entry and that she was attacked. And then her lover, played by Robert Cummings, helps him put 2 and 2 together and ends up helping her save her life. And that was another one of his limited setting movies. It all took place in their flat.
It was a twist within a twist, kind of, right?
Yep.
God, that he was known for that. That's why, even someone like me that has a hard time appreciating anything aesthetic, I can appreciate Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Yep.
Yeah, it was that I got. Okay, I'm writing that one down too. Dial M for Murder. I got 3 now to watch. It'll get my mind off this damn election going on right now.
Oh God, I don't even want to. I feel like the whole country's waiting for some kind of medical test results.
we're waiting for a STD test. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh man. Dial M for Murder. Okay, so what are we on? My number 2?
You're number 2. All
right. I'm gonna put the background on. I won't even say the name. I don't know. You probably have not seen this one because it's another one from the Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Okay.
I don't know. Can you see that?
I'm not as much of an aficionado on the Presents. I don't remember a whole lot of them. So
you got a guy in the basement there. He's tied up in the basement, gagged. Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's called 4 o'clock. And so the rendition I watched was the 1986 remake that was done in the late 80s. So then I went back and just looked at scenes and, different, the storyline is pretty much the same, but I did watch the colorized in 1986 version after Hitchcock had died. Mm-hmm. He died in 1980. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, this one, he's truly master of suspense. If I'm going to recommend any movie, even though this is my number 2, this is the one I recommend someone go and watch. And it's this one's free on YouTube. So just look up 4 o'clock, Alfred Hitchcock, and you find it on YouTube for free. Right. But man, this is the one where I was like, oh, there is no concept of pause button on this one. The house could be on fire. I'm going to watch it to the end. This was the only episode that also premiered on another series called Suspicion. And this was the only episode that Alfred Hitchcock directed that was part of that Suspicion series. Mm-hmm. So Suspicion was a whole conglomeration of different directors, but Alfred Hitchcock only lended one of his adaptations to that series, and this was the one. So this was one of his choices, which also... maybe I got a little psychopathy in me, because to be a guy like Alfred Hitchcock or Stephen King, you can't be right in the head. You got to have. I firmly believe that there's something very wrong with people like that to be able to come up. You just can't organically come up with this kind of stuff. Yeah. And to be able to relate to him a little bit, maybe there's a little something wrong with me. I'm thinking, I don't know.
I know there is with me. I tell everyone that I say the phrase, I could have hid that body better than them. In reference to any true crime show I ever watch. If there's ever a murder in my little town, they're going to come looking for me.
Yeah, the true crime. My wife loves the investigative discoveries and all those whodunits, on TV. Yeah. Oh, she loves those, and Yeah, I firmly believe. Like you were talking about the last one, Dial In for Murder. You know,
Mhm.
where he rearranges the crime scene. You
Mhm.
know, nowadays, with the age of forensics and all kinds of ways to
Couldn't
detect
do
that,
that.
I mean, you just could not. Back
Mm-mm.
then, you might be able to get away with it. In Alfred Hitchcock movies, you never do anyway. But
Yeah.
um, okay, so 4 o'clock. Basically, it's man, if I can. We booked this show 2 weeks ago. We kept having to postpone for one reason or the other. So
Yeah.
this was one of the first ones I watched, and it really hit me. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be fun." Um, so he's a judge.
Mhm.
He suspects his wife is cheating, so he wants to get his the day's cases over with quickly, so he rules quickly, and all the jury's like, what does he do? And so he gets out of there quickly and he goes home. Before he leaves, the last person that he sentences guilty was someone that was um, accused of making a bomb. And so the prosecution had to go through the whole bomb making process with an alarm clock and this, and here's how you make it, and you set the alarm clock and the light bulb, and if you set it for a certain time, the alarm clock will hit this and it'll activate this, and the gas and the gasoline, the Molotov cocktail, and it blows the bomb, right?
Mm.
So he was like, you could see in his eyes, he's thinking, that's how I'm going to get her, right? So he goes home, and uh, he firmly believes, before he leaves that morning, I'm getting it confused. Go back and watch it, guys. But the reason he knows that she's cheating is because she overheard her on the phone or something saying, I love you, and come over, I'll help you get those clothes off.
Mhm.
Something like that, right? A lot of stuff like that. So keep that in mind. And
Mhm.
I didn't catch it. I'll be honest. I didn't catch it when things that made you, oh, yeah, she's definitely cheating, right? So he gets home, empty house. He goes in the basement, sets up a bomb, sets it, and
Mhm.
has it ready to go. He hears someone coming in the door. He thinks it's the wife and the husband and the lover.
Mhm.
It's two burglars. They go down the steps, they catch him, they tie him up. They're
Mhm.
just there to rob the place. They clean his house out, right? They
Mhm.
don't notice the bomb. He's tied up in the basement. Here's the clock ticking. In about 25 minutes, it's going off, right?
Mhm.
They leave. Everything's windows are broken. Here comes the wife and lover now, right?
Mhm.
They see everything. They're like, call the police. Oh, God. Well, as they're coming in the door, she's like, oh, uh, um, I hope you. She alludes. She makes you think that after my husband's dead, you can have all his clothes. All
Mhm.
right. So here's the spoiler alert. I love you. She turns out to be. He turns out to be her brother. She's helping him with a job interview this whole time.
Mhm.
He's over there to just borrow a suit of her husband's.
Mhm.
Let's get these clothes off of you. I love you because she's the sister.
Mhm.
Everything, and you would have to go back and watch it again, but everything is a brother and sister conversation, and they just he spun it in his head. They have to be, long story short, the bomb doesn't, but this is the nail biter. You just tick, tick, tick. I mean,
Toward
the
4
way
o'clock, I'm assuming.
all the way to 4 o'clock, and just the way only someone like Hitchcock could just make you
Mhm.
shit your pants. But yeah, he just makes you completely lose your mind. In fact, when 4 o'clock hits, right before it's about to hit, she comes down the basement and turns on the light, and it pops the breaker. So when it hits 4 o'clock, nothing happens because it's all connected to the electrical system.
Wow.
So he's now fully PTSD and saying like, I can't even talk anymore, right?
Mhm.
And the next scene is he's on a gurney, he's in a straitjacket going off to the mental home, and here comes old boy, and here's the reveal. The lover comes up, and she's like, oh yeah, and she reveals that he's the brother, and I guess your job interview is canceled for tomorrow, or they let on, but gosh damn, it was good.
Wow. He drove
Yeah.
himself insane over nothing.
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to check that out. I probably have seen it and it just doesn't make a ring a bell, but I will check that out. Wow.
Some
He's the
notes I
master.
have.
The only
Yes.
thing that was missing was that there to be a twist and oops, there is a lover that we don't see until after the guy's committed. That would be the only missing twist, I think.
See, Tracy, you have to do a remake because that would be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
A double twist, yeah. Some other, let's see. I wonder if there isn't something really wrong with a guy like Hitchcock or Stephen King. Um, uh, 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 And he's carried on a straitjacket. That's all I have on it. Yeah. Just, I wonder, I'd like to hear an expert, like a psychoanalyst.
Maybe I have friends that are psychologists. Maybe I'll get them to do a profile on Alfred Hitchcock just based on his movies. That would be fun.
My co-host Courtney, she's working on her master's in psychology. Hers is, she doesn't deal, anytime I ask her, fun abnormal psychology questions, that's not her forte. So
yeah,
she's in the therapy line of it for like children and
right.
I guess there's specialized fields. So any abnormal psychology I ask her, she just doesn't really. That's not her thing. All right, we're on number ones, Tracy.
My number 2 is The Birds.
Oh yeah, you're number 2, and The Birds. Okay.
So we don't need to discuss. They don't need to discuss that anymore. But it is my number. Yeah. My number 2. And so now,
when we first were going to do the show, we were talking about it, and Birds was number 1 on both our lists.
I know.
Yours, it fell to number 2 for you and number 4 for me.
Yep. I mean, it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong, but after I started thinking about the Hitchcock movies I actually watched, I went back to the 3 that my mother had VHS copies of, and the ones that I almost wore out. And all 3 of them are on this list. Birds is one of them. Dial In for Murder is the other one. And so my number 1, once we get to that, is the one that I probably watched the most and could probably recite almost every scene to you. And I realized that's your favorite Hitchcock movie, Tracy. And after I rewatched it, I'm like, yeah.
Is there anything about The Birds that we missed talking about it earlier?
No, I mean, it's a great movie. All shot in a real life California town, Bodega Bay, it's not really called Bodega Bay, but up in Northern California. Beautiful scenery. I think Hitchcock did the movie definite justice. It fits right in with animal horror, which is a genre all on its own. I also enjoy Willard and Ben, the originals, not the remakes. I also enjoyed those. Which are not Hitchcock, but I like animal horror. There was another one from the 70s called Day of the Animals, where the animals attack the humans. And then there was, of course, Cujo, the Stephen King animal horror. There's something unique about animal horror because you always have this fear that it could happen because we don't quite understand animals,
Yeah, Hitchcock, I don't think he invented the man versus nature trope, but he definitely perfected it. And guys like Spielberg with Jaws and King with Cujo, and even the bee stuff, the Sharknado, none of these would have happened.
Without the birds.
Yeah. That's great. Sure. All right, your number 1.
Okay. My number 1 is Rear Window.
Another one I was meaning to watch. Dang it. I'm going to write that one down too.
Because this is the one I've probably seen the most. It stars Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly and Raymond Burr. And it's literally another one of Hitchcock's limited settings because it all takes place in Jimmy Stewart's apartment, looking out his windows toward an apartment building that's next door. And he can see everything that's going on. And he is a photographer for magazines, or a freelance photographer that tried to get the perfect shot on a racetrack, got the perfect shot, but broke both of his legs as a result. So he's in traction. And he's sitting on his in his wheelchair, and he's bored to death. This is the 50s. There really wasn't. I mean, there was some television, but not a lot. So he busied himself becoming kind of a voyeur. He would watch his neighbors across the way, and he would see their everyday life, and he got their patterns down. And then he saw Raymond Burr, who literally never says a word in this movie until the very end, to the climax. He is a traveling salesman that has a sick wife that Jimmy Stewart sees him becoming more and more agitated with his wife. And then one day the wife's just gone. And there is something, he sees something strange in the man's garden. That he figures, okay, I think he killed his wife and buried her in that garden, and then a neighbor's dog is killed because he's starting to dig up the parts. And then Grace Kelly is his girlfriend, who is breaking all the rules by coming over. The sexual tension between Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly is just off the charts. You just know they're really banging each other. I mean, and in part of the movie, they're a couple that you can actually see. It's like Mary Tyler Moore and Dick Van Dyke, that kind of chemistry. You could actually see them probably sleeping together. And so she's breaking all the rules by spending the night with him, very open with her sexuality, which was very unusual in the 50s. And he basically gets her to watching the stuff whenever and she gets obsessed with the fact this guy has probably killed his, and then his nurse gets involved. And so he basically in the end wants to try to catch the guy. So he sends Grace Kelly over to set a trap for the guy. And then we're watching Grace Kelly fight the guy in a bedroom. And I'm like, why would you send Grace Kelly into that danger? And she manages to get away. But then the guy realizes that it's Jimmy Stewart that's behind it all, and comes into the apartment and tries to kill Jimmy Stewart. And then in the end, the cops that haven't believed him up until this point, one of the detectives gets a hunch and comes back and actually saves the day. But that's Rear Window, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. It was remade in 2010 in a movie called Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf. That was pretty good. The only difference, a lot of differences, but the main difference was this was a kid that was on house arrest for beating up a teacher rather than a reporter that's down with 2 broken legs. It shows you the difference between the 50s and the 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then that one I should have guessed, because as I'm kind of researching for the show, a lot of film critics were picking Rear Window as their favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I didn't. I should have just jumped right to that one.
He won a couple. He won a couple of Oscars for Rear Window, and I think Grace Kelly and Jimmy Stewart did as well.
I'm not a Shia LaBeouf fan. I'm going to skip Disturbia, but I'm going to watch Rear Window, Dial In for Murder, Rope, and Lifeboat. I got another movie marathon planned.
And Raymond Burr is excellent in it too. You know, we always know him as Perry Mason.
Yes.
But going back to the theme of gay Hollywood, he was also gay, and he actually dated what's the chick that Natalie Wood, the one that drowned?
Yeah.
They were a longtime couple, and from all accounts, he was actually in love with her. So maybe bisexual is a better termination for him. But the only woman that he said he ever really did love, but the studio didn't want them together. They wanted her with somebody else and him with somebody else. And so back then the studios kind of owned you. It was kind of scary. And they wouldn't let them to be together, and they ended up becoming friends, and he found a male lover, and she ended up marrying Robert whatever, and then possibly having an affair with Christopher Walken and all this stuff. But yeah.
Great segue. You said there's that gay Hollywood theme. So my is that all you had on
yeah,
Rear
that's
Window?
all I have on Rear Window. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
I'm definitely going to. So in line with that gay theme, and we've already talked about my number one a little, but I didn't let the cat out of the bag. So here we are. All right. So speaking of the gays, if no one could see this, all right. So I think not Butch. Maybe I have it. Oh, Bruno. Bruno is the one on the right here. He's kind of the bad guy, and that's
Oh, what's the title of the movie?
Oh, Strangers on a Train. Sorry.
Right.
Strangers on a Train. So that's a popular actor. I forget Guy, the one on the left there. He's the good guy, the tennis player. I forget what his real name is. He's famous dude, but he's a professional tennis player in this. Bruno and them meet on a train. This is the one where I thought it was going to be that limited setting. It seemed like it's going to stay on this train the whole time, which would have been cool. That's fine, but it did not. Definitely did not. But there was I just sensed gay tension throughout this. Like Bruno is totally just wants him more than just a friend kind of deal.
Oh,
and Guy was totally oblivious, even to the very end, right? And in fact, I could see people in the 50s, 1951 or 59, whenever this came out, watching this and not even catching any of it. I could totally see that too. All right, so it's doubles motif. Everything's doubles, triplets, twins. You hear double cross.
Crisscross,
two of everything. There's two tennis rackets on the lighter. Everything's in. I was seeing doubles in everything. Lots of the opening scenes are them walking to the train together, but it's total mirror image.
I believe he was, being a tennis pro, I think he was a part of a doubles.
Yes,
a doubles team.
He was on his way to a doubles tournament. Yeah,
right.
So the scenes of them walking to the train, it's bad guy, good guy walking up from different angles. It just shows their feet, but it's the exact same scene, just a mirror image. Crisscross, doubles, double cross. Again, overbearing parent. Hitchcock, another. The Bruno's father, overbearing. He wants him dead. Long story short, Bruno wants Guy to kill his dad, and in return, he's going to kill his wife, because Guy's in love with someone else now.
Let's say that you'd like to get rid of your wife.
It's a morbid thought.
No. Just suppose. Let's say that you had a very good reason.
No, let's
say. Now, you'd be afraid to kill her. You know why? You'd get caught. And what would trip you up? The motive. Now, here's my idea.
I'm afraid I haven't got time to listen, Bruce.
Listen. It's so simple, too. Two fellows meet accidentally, like you and me. No connection between them at all. Never saw each other before. Each one has somebody that he'd like to get rid of. So, they swap murders.
Swap murders?
Each fellow does the other fellow's murder. Then there's nothing to connect them. Each one has murdered a total stranger. Like, you do my murder, I do yours.
We're coming into my station.
For example, your wife, my father. Crisscross. What? Oh, we do talk the same language, don't we?
A senator's daughters, I think. I'm not gonna give away too much of this because it's my number one, and I'm not gonna give away the ending too much. I'll try to just dance around it. I want people to go and watch this one and see if they see what I see in it. Because man, it wasn't like, it was a twist ending. It wasn't an idiot like me couldn't pick, maybe someone else, someone smart or someone's good at watching these and seeing, like my mom, Sixth Sense, 10 minutes in, another spoiler alert for Sixth Sense, but my mom, 10 minutes into that movie, she was like, oh yeah, Bruce Willis is probably a ghost at this point.
And you're like,
I had already seen it. Yeah. She was uncanny about that, how she could just pick up on shit and basically ruin the movie for herself. Because the only way that movie's good is if you realize he's a ghost when his wife drops the wedding ring and blows the cold smoke out of her mouth.
And then you see his flashbacks where he was actually killed when the guy shot him. Yeah. It's like The Village. I was into that movie until I realized, wait a minute, this is some kind of crazy cult. When I remembered that movie just went for me.
Is that the one where it pans way out at the very end, and you realize this isn't the 1700s because there's a highway and cars?
Yeah, it's a cult.
You realize
they buried themselves from the rest of society.
They've completely isolated themselves, but it's modern day, and you think this whole time you think it's 1492 Plymouth, basically, or whatever.
Right.
The pace is great on this one. So forget what I said about slow starts for Hitchcock. This is not one of them. It's watch this one from the beginning and don't blink. There's something in every scene, and I'm going to go back and watch it again because you'll pick up something every time you watch it. Hitch definitely has a type. I noticed that leggy blonde. They all look carbon copy. Yeah, they're all. Platinum blonde, Scandinavian, glacial. They're always impeccably dressed. Let's see. Oh, Hitchcock. In doing research, he treated his actors just like. In fact, he said actors should be treated like cattle, and I don't think he meant that as pejoratively as you would think. He just means they're just one facet of a movie. Don't put them on a pedestal. They're an important part of the movie, but they're just any other. They're no more important than the cameraman or the lighting.
And they need direction.
And they need to take direction, and they're not in charge.
Right.
It's the director. He runs the show, and that's how he saw things. The actors were just, I put you on this mark, and you say what you're supposed to say in the way you're supposed to say it.
For him, it was I did you a favor by casting you in this movie.
Right.
Because you got to remember, most of these actors in the 40s and 50s, it wasn't like today where you get one part and you're paid $1 trillion. I mean, they made six figures during that time period, over $100,000, which was same as making millions today. But for the most part, it wasn't like they got one big deal and then they had to wait and get another big deal. Most of these people were under contract with one of the major studios, and they signed a contract to do X amount of movies. And if they didn't film X amount of movies, they owed the studio money. So they really had to scrape and bow to get these directors to cast them, because they've got a 10 movie deal. They've got to make 10 movies for MGM. So somebody's got to cast me. So it was really, this is before the unions or anything. So they were kind of it wasn't as pleasant a life as I'm sure it is in Hollywood today.
Yeah, and if there was no time limit, they could stretch you out forever. They could make 9 movies with you and then hold you out for that perfect 10th one, and you know that you're free after that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think actors, they're not constrained the same way now, but I think they still are. But
if you sign on with a franchise like the Marvels, they signed on with Disney or Marvel, and then now Disney they have to play their character in so many movies, and I think most of them now have finished that contract. But since the Marvel franchise is pretty much at an end, at least in what we know it as, but yeah, if you're a franchise character, that's kind of the way it goes.
And who is it? Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man.
Yeah, so he.
And then there's the Chris Evans, the three Chris's, Pratt, Evans, and
I get them all confused. One's Guardians of the Galaxy. One is Thor.
One is Thor, and one is Captain America.
What, Captain America?
I think that's Chris Evans.
Is female.
Captain America.
Is Captain Avenger? Which one's female?
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Okay. See, I get them all. Superhero movies. Don't get me started. First off, there's too many of them.
Yeah.
I think, and that's not a bad thing, but I think it's taken up resources that, spend some time, come up with an interesting, independent, unique idea. Mm-hmm. Start from scratch.
Make your own superhero.
Huh?
They all go to the comic books for their inspiration, which is fine, but
yeah,
I would like to see an original superhero.
Yeah, or the superhero motif is just kind of overdone. I mean, you can do superhero on Netflix. The number one trending series right now is a female chess player. In a way, that's kind of a superhero movie. She's a gifted, from a very early age, she's just a chess genius, right? Mm-hmm. It's Queen's Gambit. I haven't even started watching yet, but it's number one on Netflix right now.
I think my wife is watching that right now.
My wife told me about it. Because I used to be a very competitive chess player, and so it's got to be about the Polgar twins. The Polgars, Judith Polgar, I forget her sister's name. They're identical twins. They live in Russia, and they're always like they're the Venus and Serena of chess. They were always number one, number two, just back and forth. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was going to be kind of almost a docu-series on the Polgars, but I guess it's not. It's a totally new, they came up, totally a unique, fresh script. So it'd be interesting to watch.
Oh, Strangers on a Train. You know how I got acquainted with that movie? Do you
No.
remember the old Danny DeVito, Billy Crystal movie, Throw Mama
Throw
from
Mama
the Train?
from the Train.
That's how I got turned on to. As soon as I saw that movie, I went and found a VHS copy of Strangers on a Train, and I watched it.
Wait,
and I really enjoyed it.
Is that a spoof of the Strangers on a Train?
Not really a spoof. It's just, I think, a homage to it.
Really?
Because that's where they get the idea of they want Danny DeVito wants Billy Crystal to kill his mama, and he'll do something for him. But Billy Crystal doesn't really, thinks he wants his ex-wife to die, but then realize he doesn't. So it's kind of the same thing. I'll kill your ex-wife, you kill my mother. And Danny DeVito's a little crazy, so he ends up going insane and trying to actually kill the ex-wife. But then Billy Crystal saves her, and then he gets so mad at the mother, because the mother is a cruel person. He really does try to kill her, and then Danny DeVito saves his mother, and then she ends up dying of natural causes.
Wow. And it's a direct homage to
Yeah,
Strangers on a Train.
The two final scenes are on a train.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, the final scene in the original is it goes to a carnival, and then it goes, the final scene's back at the carnival. I don't want to give anything away, but
Right.
I will say there's the most sphincter tightening moment of all the times I watched any Alfred Hitchcock during this entire marathon was the scene in Strangers on a Train. And there's no blood, no gore, no jump scares. It's just be watching for the tunnel of love scene.
Yep.
All right. So someone's going to die in this scene. It's the tunnel of love, and it lulls you into this. Hitchcock knows what the audience is probably thinking, and he goes in a different direction, and a murder occurs, but not in the way you think. And the cinematography, just the perspective. So the victim is wearing thick glasses, so you see the murder. The glasses have broken, and they're in the grass, and they shoot the scene through her glasses from the ground. So you see it through what her eyes would see. So you see the murder occur through these broken glasses that are lying on the ground. It's just insane.
Yep. It's a well done movie. It really is.
All right. Well, that's our 5.
List. I wonder if my subscribers have noticed what movie is missing from both of our top 5 lists.
Oh, Psycho.
Psycho.
It's got to be Psycho.
Yeah, it is.
It should be in anyone's top 5, and it should be in mine. I should.
Not dump, really. I think it's overrated. I mean, it's good, but I think it's overrated. I think he has so many other movies that are far superior to it.
Well, didn't he make that one later on?
Yeah, it was late 60s.
Late 60s. Okay, at that point, it's almost like Hitchcock it almost feels like maybe he was pressured by other influences. This is what the audiences want. They want it's too close to Halloween or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. It's got the jump scares, and it's got the classic horror. The stuff the easy scares, not the psychological thriller, not the suspense. There's suspense,
right?
But it's just not the same as his originals.
It's not quite a slasher,
no,
because you don't really see the gore. I mean, the shower scene's the most gory, and it's just blood going down a drain, really. So it's very close to being the slasher of the Alfred Hitchcock. And then, of course, they took the franchise and wrote it into like 4 sequels, just like they do.
Did you see the Hitchcock biography movie?
I haven't.
I haven't either, but I've seen bits and pieces. Apparently, when they're filming the shower scene, Hitchcock's behind the camera, and he's watching intently. And first he goes and he the cameras aren't rolling. He goes up there with the knife, and here's how it should look, and he's scaring the woman, and she's buck naked in the shower. In fact, when they sent the before the movie went out, well, let me get to my first point. So he's behind the camera, they're filming, and then as we and you can see him you can see, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but the look in his eyes and the way he's just pantomiming what's going on screen, with the knife, like there's something deeply disturbed deep down with this guy, right?
Right.
And Hitchcock purposely left all the nudity uncensored when they sent it off to get rated for the original ratings to see what this is going to be rated for the movie reviews, knowing it's going to get, no, it's rejected. But he did that on purpose, it turns out, because he wanted them to just be just gobsmacked, totally offended the first time. So then when he sends back the next one, they would be like, oh, he really toned it down. But that's the one he wanted to put in anyway. He desensitized them by sending the unedited, really bloody, lots of TNA. And then when he said absolutely not, he sent back the one he really wanted, and so there wasn't as much pushback, and they got it in.
That's brilliant. It really is. Be interesting to see if there's a version of that with the full death scene. I've never even looked for that, but it might be interesting.
Oh yeah, and I think there was an extended director's cut of his mother talking to him in some places, and at the very end when the big reveal. Yeah. I'm surprised that it's not on either of our top 5. It was a good movie.
It was good. I just think it's not his best. So
it could maybe replace. You know what? It probably still would not make my top 5 because there's another one. Just real quick, this was my what do you call it? Notable
honorable mention.
Honorable mention is I'll just run through it real quick. Thanatos Palace Hotel. It's another of the Hitchcock Presents. I'm not going to even give any of it away. It's twist ending. Just the premise of it. It's almost like Fantasy Island, kind of where everyone goes. This guy, he wants to commit suicide. They catch him falling off the roof. The firemen catch him in one of those scoopers things. So they send him off to they were going to institutionalize him, but before they can send him away, this mysterious guy comes up and says, we got this hotel where people who want to commit suicide, and you just pay us $5,000, and I don't care how you get it, and then we'll make your death painless, and you'll enjoy your you'll be unafraid to die. So he goes to this hotel where you cannot escape, and the whole movie is him falling in love, realizing he doesn't want to die, trying to get out of the hotel, but there's no escape now. You can check in anytime you want, but you can never leave.
Yeah, like the Hotel California.
Yeah. It was really good too. So that didn't even make it, but it was really good.
My honorable mention would probably be Strangers on a Train, but since we've already talked about that, my other honorable mention would be North by Northwest with Cary Grant. It's just a basic spy thriller. Just very similar to Vertigo in a lot of ways, just a different premise. I really enjoyed that one.
I watched a lot of scenes from that one when I was trying to decide which ones to look at for my marathon, and it's that German hard edges Matrix, film noir kind of feel, that spy versus spy. So, and I did intelligence for 21 years. It's my career, so I probably should watch it. I enjoy that kind of stuff, but not as much as some people would. I understand that, like, firefighters do not like the movie Backdraft, and military guys like me, we can't even watch like Few Good Men because we just spend half the movie just criticizing the shit out of it. Or a race car driver does not like to watch Days of Thunder, and no one likes to watch it with them because they're just going to criticize the crap out of it. So I'm thinking if I watch a North by Northwest, I wonder how much of it I'll just criticize.
You should do a YouTube video about that. You should watch. You should do former intelligence officer reacts to spy thriller, and just rip it apart. That would be great. I bet my subscribers would watch it.
Oh, see, the true crime stuff is a much bigger niche. It's a much bigger potential for my little, mocking God. You can only do that so much, and it's a very small niche audience. I would have to do a whole new channel unless I somehow spun it into a theological, anti-religion kind of setting. That would have to be a whole new channel, though.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Maybe we can find a way, because my channel is true crime, weird history, and I've also started to do some horror movie reviews, which my subscribers seem to like. So maybe we can work it in on my channel. You know what?
That would be excellent. We could do another one of these, and then just pick maybe 1, 2, 3 that have to do with. Really, my forte is electronic surveillance. So, Clear and Present Danger would definitely be on there. If we watch Clear and Present Danger, and I got you to, the layman, what did you think of this? And me as kind of the expert to say, this is where, did you think this was real?
Mm-hmm.
This is where they screwed that up. Did you notice this? And that might be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Let's plan that.
All right. This has been
All right.
fun.
It has been. Thank you so much for coming on, everyone. I will have the links to Jim's channel down below. Go check him out. He has some really cool stuff. Anyway, thanks a lot. And until next time, Keto Comic out.